Hello, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming at you to review a made-for-TV movie from the early 80s by the name of Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. The reason I'm reviewing this is because I don't know, I recently became like I said in my last review I did of Blood Lake and the DVD of it, on Amazon, and they'll often have recommended things to, links and stuff to click, or titles to click and stuff like that based on what you've been looking at, things they think you might be interested in. And sure enough, I was kind of interested in this, and I came across a Blu-ray of this, and it's just like, what, I like Scarecrow, even though this is made for TV and stuff. I mean, I like Scarecrow horror movies and stuff like that, or Scarecrow genre pictures and stuff. So I actually put the Blu-ray of this in the cart, and then I was able to find I think someone basically uploaded the Blu-ray, I would imagine, because it looks really good onto YouTube in its entirety. So I'm like, oh well, I'll watch this and see if it's worth buying. Good thing I watched it, because I deduced that it's really not worth buying by watching it. So I got to just see Dark Knight of the Scarecrow for free on YouTube. But to be fair, I mean, it was originally made for TV, so it was made to be seen for free anyway, so I committed no crime. But then I found myself taking the Blu-ray out of the cart not long after, because I'm like, it's really not something I need to see again, and definitely for that reason I don't need to own it. So basically Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, I think, came out and was made for TV in the early 80s or whatever, and it does star this guy who's, I don't know, he's in a lot of stuff from back in the time. I don't know his name, but maybe I'll put his name and his picture up here or something like that as I'm talking about him. This guy is, it's funny because it should be called Dark Knight of the Postman, because it's more about this guy who's just like this heinous bastard than it is about the Scarecrow. That's one of the things I don't like about it, or at least, as I said, if you're going to have a movie, title it more in a way that's more representative of what the movie is. Dark Knight of the Fat Postman, would have been a better title. But whatever. The movie begins with this kind of idiot Larry Drake. This is probably the youngest I've seen Larry Drake playing an idiot. He really does it well. Playing an idiot, it's kind of like Frankenstein monster and the little girl kind of a bit. There's this little girl and this idiot who are the best of friends, and they're out in I don't know if they're out in the flower field and picking flowers and tearing off the petals or whatever. They're just bestest of buddies and this and that and stuff. And what ends up happening is, I don't know, this girl wanted to go into this one thing, and it's been a while since I watched it now, but we'll just do a basic from what I can remember about it. This girl wants to go into this property or something where she's not supposed to, and maybe Larry Drake's like, no, I don't think you should. And she's like, don't worry, I'll go in here. And she ends up being, like, I think, attacked by a dog or whatever. And I don't know if Larry Drake character, idiot guy, brings her home, like very much like just in his arms, like the, frickin' Frankenstein movie or whatever. And I think it's really weird, because it's like at that point I think the characters and the audience think that she's presumed dead. She's dead at that point. And this fat postal worker and some of these other guys, farmer guys around town, really takes place in a small town and stuff, so I like that aspect about it. They don't like this idiot guy hanging around with this young girl. They just think that, I don't know, they're just afraid for her. They think that she might get hurt or whatever. And of course, when news travels fast around this here small town, when news ends up, happening by the post office or whatever, someone informs the fat postal worker, oh, Daisy May is dead or whatever. I don't know what the hell her real name is, but it's just like, I knew that was going to happen. And the fat postal worker kind of, heads up this posse of other, this other guy's fat, and I don't know, maybe these two other guys aren't so fat, to basically, like, there's a lot of things that take away from the Frankenstein story about this movie, and just to four-man posse to just grab your guns and pitchforks, and let's go hunt Bubba. Maybe Larry Drake's character's name's Bubba. If not, it should have been. That's kind of a good, it might be, his character name might be Bubba, and before you know it, he's being chased by, they get the dogs out, the hounds or whatever the fuck they are. Hounds, you like that? They get the hounds out and chased down. We're just going to call him Bubba. Larry Drake's character, and they, oh, basically, yeah, this is a really weird scene. Like, they find him, like, hanging on a scarecrow. He's, like, trying to hide, like, on a scarecrow thing, hung up as a scarecrow, and you can see, as plain as day, like, his eyes, like, inside the mask. So he's trying, this is, his, I guess, his hiding place, I guess, when he gets in trouble or whatever and wants to not be found. But of course, normally people don't have dogs or whatever, or hounds to find him with. So this time, unfortunately, his hiding spot doesn't really work, and in a really kind of nasty scene, which is surprising that, you know, it was made for TV and stuff. Obviously, it's not graphic, but just the idea is kind of nasty. He's just hanging there. And even after he's just clearly discovered by these guys, he's still hanging there, and we just see his, like, wide, scared eyes in the scarecrow mask or whatever. And I think these guys basically just shoot him, you know, shoot him down in cold blood, hanging there on the scarecrow thing as a scarecrow, and just leave him at that or whatever. And then what ends up happening is, not long after, we end up finding, this is a plot point which I think is just kind of lame, we end up finding out that the young girl did in fact not die, which is just kind of like, oh, give me a break. Like, why are you going to say she's dead when she's not dead? And then you find out later she's not dead and she's just fine, and oh my gosh. So now this fat postal worker and his friends are like, oh God, we killed Bubba for nothing. And because I guess what I didn't mention is when Bubba showed up with the girl in his arms, I guess they just assumed he did it. You know, he's this big idiot who just, you know, too big, too strong for his own good, and accidentally killed her or whatever. And of course that wasn't the case. She was attacked by a dog, only to be, you know, thought to be dead but not really be dead. So once they, you know, find out that through the word of mouth of this small town, find out that she's alive, and it's just like, oh my God, we killed this man, we're killers, and he didn't even deserve it, he didn't do nothing. And then the fat postal worker was like, you know, just shut up now, don't breathe the word of this to anyone. So all of a sudden it's like, you know, the movie that would kind of come up to be, you know, I Know What You Did Last Summer or whatever. And it's just like, and so the movie's basically about the fat postal worker just being an asshole, you know, first heading up a posse to have this guy killed, you know, this Larry Drake idiot killed, and then trying to, you know, once they find out the girl that they thought he killed is not dead and she's alive and perfectly fine, then trying to keep the secret that they killed him a secret, and then, you know, slowly but surely, like, the one thing I do like about this movie, and being made for television, it's obviously the best way you can do quote-unquote kill scenes, is all of the kill scenes of, like, I don't know, maybe it's 2 or 3 of these guys that conspired in the killing of Larry Drake's character or whatever, just die in ways that are just like, we never see anything. We don't see a foot, we don't see a hand, we don't see a piece of straw of the scarecrow, or what we presume to be the scarecrow killing people. We simply see just machinery being turned on, or we hear sounds of, you know, this or that. So one of the kills I can remember is this guy being locked in a silo, and then the corn being poured in, and, you know, stuff like that. Those are the kind of kills made for TV horror movie you're going to get. But I do think the way of not showing anything of what's responsible for doing these kills is kind of a creepy way to do it, to be honest. And it was kind of cool, just like not seeing anything and just seeing things just happen or whatever, or from the victim's point of view or whatever. So, but at the same time, you know, if you're, you know, doing a Scarecrow horror movie, you kind of, as a viewer personally, you know, having been being a big fan of the movie Scarecrows from the late 80s, you know, you do kind of want to see scarecrows killing people. I mean, or a scarecrow, you know, walking around killing people. That's another thing you kind of want. That's why I decided not to buy this movie, because it's more about, as I've already said, the postman the postman being an asshole and trying to, you know, squirm his way out of, you know, justice or whatever. And even to this guy's such an asshole that he even goes, he basically thinks, you know, like, I think at this point in the movie, 2 of his, you know, friends who helped kill Larry Drake's character are dead. And at this point he thinks it's, you know, Larry Drake's, the character's mother who's doing it. So he goes to her house, and, like, I don't remember how, I think she, you know, to confront her, like, I know what you're doing, I don't like it one bit, like. So he's going to confront, you know, the mother of Bubba, the guy he wrongly killed, And I think she ends up having a heart attack while he's there, you know, and I don't know if it's because he's there and you know, raised in hell or whatever. And what ends up happening, God damn, you hate this guy, because what he ends up doing then is just like, oh my God, she died, and it's just like, I got to cover this up. So then I think he sets the house on fire, or turns on the gas in the oven or whatever, and she had a fire going anyway when he arrived, and he's just like, and he just leaves, and the place is like, so it's like, that's why this should be called Dark Night of the Fat Ass Postman, because he's the biggest killer in this movie, or the only killer you see actually doing killing. And it's just like, oh my God. And I actually watched this probably in 3 parts because it was kind of so boring that I'm like, okay, we'll do 30 minutes, then we'll do another 30 minutes, and then I'll just do the last 30 minutes. I know at this point I'm not going to buy it, but I can't not finish a movie. So, oh my God. So, obviously I would imagine that all 4 of these guys end up dying. And at the very, very, very end of the movie, I think we see, you know, the little girl maybe goes to the Scarecrow hanging on the thing or whatever, and I think we see it like go like this and just like turn its head towards her or something. We see at the very, very end of the movie, I think we see the Scarecrow move or something, and it's just like, that's the end of the movie. And it's just like, I guess there's 2 ways to do this kind of a movie. One way is just seeing, you know, Scarecrow's feet, or, you know, legs, or strawed up hands and feet doing things with weapons, or, you know, pulling buttons, or turning on machinery, or, you know, or just flat out killing people with pitchforks or whatever. Or the way they did it, which is to just like play the whole movie, and we don't really see anything happening, and at the very last shot or the very end of the movie just show, like, you know, the Scarecrow move, and that way you know it in fact was the Scarecrow or whatever. So I don't know. I can't really recommend this movie very much. I mean, obviously I watched it for free on YouTube, so if it's still up, I would imagine you could do the same. You know, I'll still give this 1 star out of 4 stars, just because it really depicted early 80s, like the small California town, really, really well. And, you know, the performers, you know, is it Brian Dennehy? I want to say that the fat postman guy might be Brian Dennehy. Like that. As I said, that face is just a face from my childhood that I just remember being in just TV shows and movies and just everywhere you looked in the early 80s and stuff. So, you know, as much as you hate the character in this movie, I kind of like him as a performer. I think let's face it, I mean, he does a great job being this guy that you absolutely hate and loathe and stuff. And the movie does do a good job at really making, you know, as you see him do more and more heinous things, first kill the guy and then, you know, be complicit in his mom's death, you're just like, God dang, you really want to see this guy die. As I said, I can't remember. I would assume he dies as well, but I can't remember how. I do remember right now that there's a scene like in this out in a cornfield, I think at night, with this you know, tractor or something that's seemingly running by itself or something. I don't remember, you know, who died in that scene, if anyone or whatever. But, you know, I don't know, if you've got like 90 minutes to kill, or either that or do what I did, do it in 3 30-minute increments or something. And, you know, I don't know. It's on YouTube, or at least it was when I watched it, so I wouldn't recommend the Blu-ray. And as I said, I think the version I saw, I think it was like HD, so it's probably just a Blu-ray rip. So thank you. I mean, it looked really great. So to whoever did that and put it up on YouTube, thank you very much. You saved me, like, the Blu-ray wasn't a lot of money. It was just like maybe $15 or less or something like that. So you saved me like the cost of the Blu-ray. So thank you very much for uploading it. So that, I guess, will be my review of Dark Night of the Scarecrow. For me, it's a 1-star movie. It's, you know, basically the only really thing good about it is a really kind of fun and realistic portrayal of a small California hick town, if you will. So thank you very much for watching this review, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.